Good evening and welcome back with my in-studio guests, Keen JC Concepcion, of course, and Sean Gumatauta. We're talking Decision 2014 results. Sean, we were talking before we went on a break here in regards to some what the states have done at this point. Charlotte's Web basically is a very, very, very low THC level medicinal marijuana that is used in oil form for a lot of the kids or folks who are afflicted with epilepsy. That now states can import that. You can bring that into the state. That's what allows Dylan Terlahi and his mom to move into with some family in California instead of staying in Colorado. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Unfortunately, it's not applicable to the territories. So with that, and what has happened as of late as well is banks, they've been given the clearance from the federal government now to, because in times past that proceeds made from medicinal marijuana is still considered monies from from
illegal activities.
Illegal activities, Schedule I drugs,
right?
And which is subjected to federal forfeiture and seizure.
Right. So I guess the question is, once this process has been complete, it does start another chain of events. Now,
sure.
We know that with the governor being reelected, there's been some grumblings that his second term is going to focus on federal policy. Now, with the Washington, D.C. office and access in D.C., it's not out of the realm of possibilities to be able to engage Department of Justice on this particular
sure.
matter. I know Congress will have to get involved at some point.
Sure.
But again, it'll be driven by the executive branch. The administration, once the rules are promulgated,
sure.
again, will be driving this, and we hope they do that,
Yeah.
and we'll be able to complete that before the
Yeah.
first year
Yeah.
out.
Now, Keen, I'm not quite versed. Are we the first territory, U.S. territory, that has voted? The people have voted to legalize medicinal marijuana.
As far as I know, yes,
Yeah.
we are. We are the Pacific Rim. The eyes are on Guam to see the results of this election and the results of Proposal 14A. This is a very pivotal election,
Sure.
and I keep telling that to people to go out there and vote. It's not necessarily just for the medicinal marijuana, but our future. Everybody
Sure,
could
sure.
foresee what's going to be happening down the road, so it was very, very important. But yes, as far as I know, we are the first U.S. territory.
If I'm not mistaken, you were a guest on a radio show as well from Australia.
That is right.
That
yes.
was rare, actually extremely interested on medicinal marijuana and the fact that people are going to vote on it. And I'm sure you're going to be getting a call again in regards to that to have re-interviewed now the people who have spoken. But what was the context of the interview with you? And this basically looks at themselves as well, right? And what they're going to do.
That is right.
Yeah.
And they were explicit in explaining that to me. We are going to see what you folks are going to do, and then they're going to take steps, because this is going to be a lesson learned for them. So in that regard, they're looking at how people will react to something like this. So, that's what I meant about this election being very, very pivotal, at least in the Pacific area.
Sure.
So that was the context of our conversation. It was a very short interview, if you will. We set it up for a couple of days, and then the total interview was something like 7 minutes. But they were more than interested to find out what the people of Guam are going to do in this
Sure.
election.
I mean, and that's one of the great things about the exposure that this has brought in New Zealand, in Australia, which reaches all throughout the entire Pacific. Having done plenty of interviews with them, understanding what that reach is, it's just a great opportunity for them to get a bit of insight. Everyone's always curious what happens in the North Pacific.
Sure.
And when it comes down to public policy, and maybe policies that maybe can translate into their neck of the woods, becomes very important for them, and including the policy formulation, because they'll want to learn more about the education process. How did you do the vote? How did the vote come out? What was the pros and cons?
Sure.
There's plenty more for that, and they'll try to glean more
Sure.
from the experience so that they can help them drive
Sure.
maybe decision making there.
Yeah, and you know, in speaking to candidates, of course, when they were still candidates and running for election, we posed a question to all the candidates, and what now the Attorney General elect. Liz Barrett Anderson definitely came out. She said, "I definitely want to be a part of the process of doing this," and a very integral part because you know they're head of prosecution at this point. So what you're saying as a former member of the executive branch, all entities have to be involved, and this is a holistic gathering of professionals to put things together.
Right, and that's why I said that if it's focus of an appointee, a special assistant in the governor's office, it has the visibility.
Yeah.
If you task force it out, as you know, some great ideas get lost in task forces. They don't always work out.
Sure, yeah.
And in this case, you have a mandate. So it creates a different type of urgency. Yes, you'll have directors involved, and you hope that the professionals that are part of those groups are able to get the research done, to reach out and grab it, maybe look at technical assistance.
Sure.
Believe it or not, there might be some dollars for that, or look at private foundations who are willing to give to the effort, because there's nothing stopping private foundations from getting involved as well. But yes, without the visibility at the executive branch, and especially at Adelup, this becomes even more challenging to implement what the people have actually mandated.
So are you talking in a sense like somewhat of a czar position, basically?
I mean, using the word czar has a little bit more encompassing views in terms of policy, because it's multiple levels of policy.
Sure.
But this one is in the special assistants and their role at Adelup, from experience, it could be a single policy issue or multiple policy issues. As a former policy advisor to Governor Camacho, I understand completely that if I had one person to do it, then that person has a direct access not only to the chief of staff and making sure that it's implemented, but to the governor himself. And of course, you will have some involvement from the lieutenant governor because of his role in law enforcement.
Sure.
But quite frankly, it's really to implement, and that's probably the most expeditious way to implement this particular law. It's mandated.
Sure.
So it's very hard. You say, okay, I'll throw an attorney at it or whatever. That's not going to be enough to be able to get this policy through.
That's right. And people have spoken.
They'll assist, but it probably won't be enough. Someone needs to be able to guide that process.
Sure. And we knew this from the very beginning, that it's going to be a task that involves professionals. You know, you're going to have to put money to fund this thing, you know, up front to be able to do that. And it can't be should it stay that Department of Public Health and Social Services will have oversight, that it can't just be a collateral duty. It has to be a division within itself.
Right, but I mean, and that's what I was saying, that if it's at Adelup, I mean, the only funds will be from Adelup.
Sure.
The executive branch budget will have to take care of that. I mean, when we talk about resources, that's time primarily, time and expertise. I mean, those are already in the government already. We'll reach out beyond it. Doesn't cost that much. It's time, which is the most valuable thing. And as soon as the law is passed, the clock starts ticking. So, I mean, we should be expecting in the next couple of days something from Adelup saying, I have directed so and so to do this on behalf of the law. If they're not, then I would expect that you two will be hopefully on the air.
We'll be.
We'll
definitely be
it's
in
kind
touch
of like at least they're trying to pound them to get it done, because seriously, I mean, with all kidding aside, it really is an important issue that needs the attention, and it's something that's the clock started ticking as soon as everyone voted less than a day ago.
And that's right. And again, all views aside at this point, the people have spoken. The majority rules in a democracy.
Yeah, and maybe I'm being a bit hardline about it in terms of implementation, but from experience, I think that might be the best way to do it.
Yeah, there we go. Keen, your thoughts on that, man?
Very valuable information coming from a man that has been there, and he knows exactly how it should be implemented. But I do agree with having one individual just overseeing the whole thing. Of course, it will be appointed by the governor, the executive branch, and so forth. But I totally agree with Sean what he's saying. It's time consuming to really get down and do this, and the focus will be lost if you farm it out to just agencies like public health, for example. They have other things that they need to worry about.
It's definitely a very time consuming, a job specific position. Anyway, hey Sean, I know you got to leave us. But thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on the Buzz. I hope I can come back here again and hang out with you guys.
And it is always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. You're always welcome here. Okay? We're going to take a quick break and come back and tell a little bit about Casey Savage K's story. Be right back.